नमस्कृतं त्रैगुण्यवर्जितमजं विभुमाद्यमीशं वन्दे भवघ्नममरासुरसिद्धवन्द्यं नारायणाय परिपूर्णगुणार्णवाय विश्वोदयस्थितिलयो नियतिप्रदाय ज्ञानप्रदाय विबुधासुरसौख्यदुःखसत्कारणाय वितताय नमो नमस्ते। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। देवं नारायणं दत्त्वा सर्वदोषविवर्जितं परिपूर्णं गुरुंश्चागीतार्थं वक्ष्यामि देशतः। लक्ष्मीनारायणं दत्त्वा पूर्णबोधान् गुरूनपि कुर्म श्रीकृष्णगीतायाः भाष्यादुक्तार्थसङ्ग्रहम्। हरिः ओम्. Welcome everyone. We are primarily looking at the unattempted Pratipadartha, word by word breakdown of the Bhagavad-Gita shlokas. Is my voice proper, Vijayji, Shraddhaji?
We are
Yes,
good.
Bhartaji.
Okay. So today we are looking at shloka number 16 of the 9th Adhyaya. Let's quickly open that. Please click on the link that is pinned under the room title by Vijayji. When we click on that link, we are taken directly to the shloka. The shloka reads like Om Aham shloka number 16. Okay. Aham kraturaham yajnah swadhahamaham aham eva. Oh, 1 second. Give me 1 moment. Mantrohamaham. Oh, where is that? Give me 1 moment. I'm just getting myself organized. Give me 1 moment. I just landed about half an hour ago. Okay. The shloka reads like this. Click on the link. Aham kraturaham yajnah swadhahamaham aushadham mantrohamaham ahamagmiraham hutam. Basically, what Krishna is telling is Aham kraturaham yajnah swadhahamaham aushadham mantrohamaham ahamagmiraham hutam. When we break the shloka, we get these words: Aham kratuhu, Aham yajnah, swadha aham, Aham aushadham, mantraha aham, Aham eva ajyam, Aham agnihi, Aham putam. So when we try to put that in the Anvaya, the website says the Anvaya reads like Aham kratuhu, Aham yajnah, Aham swadha, Aham aushadham, Aham mantraha, Aham ajyam, Aham agnihi, Aham hutam eva, or Aham eva hutam. Or maybe we can add eva to everything. Ahameva kratuhu, Ahameva yajnah, Ahameva swadha, Ahameva aushadham, Ahameva mantraha, Ahameva ajyam, Ahameva agnihi, Ahameva hutam. So we can put that eva in multiple different places because that's one freedom we get in breaking down the Samskrita shlokas. Normally, there is something called the punarukti dosha. So if the same word has to get repeated, it doesn't need to be repeated. If it is used once in the shloka, it can be applied multiple number of times. So, but nonetheless, what Krishna is primarily telling is he is Kratu. Aham means I, and Kratuhu means Kratu. So let's see what each of those words mean. We click on the link called the dictionary. Aham Kratuhu. I am Kratuhu, or I am the ritual action. Right? Kratuhu is the ritual action according to this website. Aham Yajnaha. I am the sacrifice. Right? Now, ritual action and sacrifice, how different are they? You will see. Because they both mean the same, right? You might have used two different words just because in Sanskrit, Krishna uses two different words, and hence the website translator also has used two different words. We are forced to because Krishna has used two different words, right? But the ritual action is yajna, right? Yajna can also be sometimes translated as ritual action, and kratuhu is yajna, right? So, aham kratuhu, aham yajna, I am the ritual action, I am the sacrifice. Aham swadha, I am the food oblation. Now, where does the food oblation come? Pitri yajna, that's also part of yajna, right? Food oblation. So basically, Agne idam namama, Agnaye swaha, we say that, right? In the yajna, we offer the swaha, right? So basically, that is the swaha. And For the same thing, when we offer it to the Pitri Yajna, Shraddha Tarpana, and things like that, it's called Swadha. Right? Same thing. What we call as in the Deva Yajna, what we call as Swaha, in the Pitri Yajna, it will be called the Swadha. Right? But yeah, what the website calls this Swadha is the food oblation for the Pitris. Right? It's specifically for the Pitris. Aham Aushadham. Okay, I am the fire giving herb. Okay, this is a very interesting thing. Aushadham is any plant life. Uh, Before this, in the Bhagavad-Gita, we heard the word Aushadha with one shloka as a reference because we started the journey from the 15th adhyaya, right? He says, Kam avishu cha bhutani dharayami aham ojasa pushnami cha aushadhi sarvaha somo bhutva rasatmakaha. So him being the soma, rasatmakaha soma, he will do the poshakatva, the nourishment to all the aushadhi, which is the plant life. Now, that's another thing that in Ayurveda, every plant life is considered to possess some medicinal properties. And in Ayurveda, does not reject any plant life. Every plant life has a medicinal effect on us, either through internal consumption or through external application. There is no plant life that is devoid of medicinal property. So, Aushadha, perhaps that's the reason why we tend to understand in the colloquial, in the Rudi, in the daily practice, in the regular practice, we tend to understand Aushadha as medicine, but it is generally plant life. But this is interesting, fire giving herb, as the translation given in this website. And this website, again, put together by some amazingly learned people, right? So it is valid. So we will see, we will try to make some sense. Aham Ajyam, I am the butter or the clarified butter, ghee, right? Ajya is the ghee. That's given there. Nominative, singular, neuter, noun. Ajya is ghee or the clarified butter. Yeah. So this website goes to that level. Aham Agni. Agni is the flame, the fire. And Aham Hutam. I am the Huta. I am the offering. Right? Huta. Huta Basma. Right? So whatever we offer into the Yajna Kunda is the offering. So look at this, right? He's saying, I am Kratu, I am Yajna, I am Swadha, I am Aushadham, I am Mantra, Aham Ajya, Aham Agni, Aham Utam. Basically, Yajna. When we say Yajna, the Kunda that we do, any kind of a Homa activity, any kind of a Yajna activity, any kind of an action should be called Kratu. Now, this is where, and Yajna is also Yajna, right? Yajna is Yajna, Kratu is also Yajna. Agni is also Yajna. Huta is also Yajna. Aushadha, Swadha is also part of the Yajna, right? The end product of the Swadha, the oblation, is also Yajna. Huta, Swadha, Aushadha, Ajya is one of the offerings into the Yajna. Like, whenever we sit in front of the Homa Kunda, ghee is something that we keep pouring, right? And mantras are something that we keep chanting. Agni is the essential part of a Yajna. It is all the same, right? Uh, what difference would then things mean, right? Then that is the question that we need to ask. And why is Krishna telling this, right? These are the two important questions that we need to answer ourselves, right? So what difference would these words mean? Perhaps comes when we look into the nirvachana, the vyutpatti, the etymological breakdown of this. So kratu is the action, right? Any action, kriya. Uh, the Bhagavan's Swarupa itself is the Kriya. Whatever is the Prakriti that we see, whatever is the creation that we see, it is primarily coming from Bhagavan's Swarupatmaka Kriya. So his basic nature itself is Kriya, right? So every action is Kratu. We can say basically everything that has happened is basically Kratu. So in front of the Homa Kunda also, we can perform various different yajnas. The Homa Kunda is a sankalpika. It's kind of a metaphorical action for the yajna that happens otherwise in this real life. So yajna, whatever we do in front of the Homa Kunda, is primarily invocation. It's like before the match, we all have a team huddle, right? There is a team huddle that happens. The team huddle is not necessarily the match. Okay, it's just a sankalpa. It is just that setting, the mood setting and things like that. But beyond that, we have to continue the action in the real yajna. Like, for example, people perform putra kamesti yaga and things like that. But you can't just rely on the yajna to give us the offspring. We have to still continue to, keep the good thoughts of the different various Abhimani Devatas, and we need to continue with the action. We can't expect that, me and my wife are staying continents apart, for some professional compulsions that, we are staying continents apart. Now, we definitely are married, we are technically married, and we need children. We can't perennially remain in these two continents and say that, no, okay, let us now perform the Putra Kamesti Yaga and expect us to get a child. So the real world life activities need to happen. So there are many, many things that happen in front of the Homakunda. Homakunda also, we do a lot of this yajna for the sake of different Abhishta phalas, right? The ones that is done for the sake of the devatas, then perhaps is the yajna. So that is where the jnana comes, right? So kratu is any action. When we say pancha yajna, there is a concept called the pancha yajna. Some of us who are doing the study of the Manusmriti every Sunday, we get to see that, there is something called the Brahma Yajna, Deva Yajna, Bhuta Yajna, Pitri Yajna, Nara Yajna. There are 5 different types of yajna. And these are essential yajna. For any grahastha, every grahastha has to perform this pancha yajna. In that, Pitri Yajna is one of them. So all actions, invariably are part of that yajna, which is the Adi Yajna, which is that Yajno by Vishnu. In the 4th chapter, we hear this, right? Uh, uh, you know, Bahuvidha Yajna, Daivameva Pare Yajnam, Yoginah Padvipasate, Brahmagnava Pare Yajnam, Yajnena Ivopajukvati, Shrotraadin Indriyanyanye, Sanyamagnishu Jukvati. So there are different types of yajna that we had seen listed out in the 4th chapter. So the way we can, one way of looking at this could be that every action, every yajna is kratu, right? Because that is where Bhagavanta's Swarupatmaka Kriya lies. In that, specifically, funnel down to the Deva Yajna, because Deva Yajna is very, very important, right? The Pancha Yajna and things like that. That becomes the Yajna. Pancha. So all actions are kratu. Within that, funneling down, the 5 Yajnas can become the Yajna. Within that, the Pitri Yajna can give us the Swadha, oblations and things like that. And further funnel down, right? You get the Swadha for that. And then within that, one subset of that will be the mantra, because manana trayati, like, the one that really, really gives us the protection, okay, through the manana. And beyond that, he's also the aushadam, the one who also does the protection. And he's also the ajya. Ajya is the shrestha. Ajya, a is samantat or a samantat, like, it's like across all. Jyaya, like, Jayasi, Jyaya, the one that is really, really good among all. Jyaya is Ajya. Like, the ghee is also called ghee or Ajya because it is the supreme. It, in English also we call it clarified. Like, it's completely distilled and the good sattva amcha is taken off, right? So basically, he's telling he's the mantra. Kratu is the kriya part of it, right? He's the uh, you know. Basically, he's declaring that every kriya is his swarupa. Some time ago, in the 8th chapter, he also mentions that, bhuta bhava udbhava karah visargah tat visargah karma sanjita. All actions are basically something that will have an effect, a bearing on the bhava of the bhuta rashi, right? So he explains that. So that becomes the karma. So the kriya, karma, that is his swarupa. Like, every action is his swarupa. Okay, within that, in yajna, yat jnanati. Yajna also has that jnana in it. So the one that gives me the knowledge is the yajna. Within that, swadha, of course, it is the pitra thing, but when we break it down, swasya dharanat, like, the one that helps you protect yourself, swadharana, like, it can be swadha. Aushadha again, the one that really, really gives energy to the ones that are falling low, tired. Aushadha, to the food, the plant life basically gives that. The internally consumed medicines and the externally applied medicines are the ones that really gives you the strength back, right? So we can look at it that way. Mantra, manana trayate, like, the one that really, really protects. for the person who does the manana of it. Ajya, the one that is extremely superior, like, the highly superior product. And Agni. Agni, fire. Of course, it is fire. But when we break it down, right? Ga, ni. Like, when is not. Ga, Gamishyati, like, without moving. Ni, niya. Like, he does a niyamaka. Without even moving anywhere, he takes everything along with him. And also Agni is also Agratvat Agni. When we look into the breakdown, it's also Agratvat. So being in the forefront, and that's where there is no yajna, sankalpika yajna, without fire. Fire has to be seen, right? And from the fire, though the fire does not move, it kind of governs everything. People come around it, the oblations come around it, the smoke is spread around it, all the various dravyas are offered into it. So it doesn't move, but it is the one that kind of a central controller. The simple way to understand the concept of Bhagavan through the Agni Rupa is the way Surya Deva does that, right? Surya Deva does not move. He looks like he's moving, but he does not move. But even without moving, he stays with us all the time, and he does the regulation of the niyamaka. Like, he does the regulation by being far. He also does the poshakatva. Like, Surya Deva is a very good example. Surya Deva is one amsha of that Parabrahma, right? He's just one small amsha. This is also something that we saw, in the 15th chapter when we started. Yadaditya gatam tejaha jagat bhasayati kidam yachandramasi yachagno tat tejo vidhimamakam. So it is also one small amsha. Natadbhasayate suryo nashashanko na pavakaha. When we look into these things, that Surya Deva is also one amsha. This is perhaps why when we do the Gayatri Anusandhana, when we do the Sankalpa, right, we tend to think of the Savitri Deva. Of course, is the one who's renowned in that Gayatri mantra. But the way to do the Upasana is that, Savitri Mandala Madhyavarti Narayana. The one who is sitting in the Savitri Mandala, which is the Surya Mandala, is the Narayana. Narayana Sarisijasana Sannivishta Keyuravan Makara Kundalvan. This is the way we tend to do the Chintana, right? So even within that Surya Deva, it is that Bhagavan who does the Poshakatva by not moving. So he's like that Agni. Agni. When we do that, that is Agni. Without moving, he does the Niyamaka. And Agratva, he is in the forefront. Like, that's also Agni. And Homa, the Havis. Havis is basically the one that is getting offered into it. Now, see, very similar thing was spoken in the fourth Adhyaya when he explains, Brahmagnavapare Yajnam Yajnenevo Pajuhvati. When he wanted to launch himself in terms of explaining to Arjuna the various types of yajna activities, one thing that he made very beautifully is that Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi, Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. There is a eightfold breakdown of the yajna, Brahma, whatever is offered into the yajna. Arpana is Brahma. Brahma eva arpanam or Brahmaya arpanam. Like, can be both. Brahma eva arpanam, Brahma arpanam. Brahma eva havihi. Brahma himself is the havis, the fire into which it is, the flame into which it's offered into arpana is also him only. Brahma arpanam, Brahmahi. Brahmagno Brahmanahutam. In the Brahmagni and Brahmanahutam. Like, Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. It's all going into Brahma only. Okay, Brahma Karma Samadhina. So there are 8 different parts being spoken. In this shloka also we see 8 different parts. Kratuhu, Yajnaha, Swadha, Aushadam, Mantraha, Ajya, Agni, Hutam. 8. Now when we look back into the conversation between Arjuna and Krishna, this entire conversation from Krishna is triggered from the 8-fold questions of Arjuna. Kim tat Brahma, Kim Adhyatma, Kim Karma Purushottama, Adhibhutam cha Kim Proktam, Adidaivam Kimuchate. Those are 5. Adiyajna Katham, Adiyajna Kaha. Prayana Kale cha Katham Jneyosi. Those 3 in the second. So there are 2 shlokas that started this conversation, which happened in the beginning of the 8th chapter. Right? Beginning of the 8th chapter begins with Arjuna asking 8-fold questions. And here Krishna is giving the 8-fold breakdown of the big picture. Every action, that is his Swarupatmaka Shakti. Is the entire Kriya. There is no way to understand Bhagavan without the Prakriti that we are in. right? The revelation is basically Maya, is something that many people say. Maya is nothing but Prakriti. What is Prakriti? Prakarshanat Krita. Kriti, there is Kriti there, a beautiful creation. Without that creation, there is no way to look at the Bhagavan. So his Swarupa is in the Kriya that he is done, which is the Prakriti, through which within that Kriya, it is the Yajna, because there is it is not a random activity that is happening. It is an activity which is giving us the jnana. So he is the Yajna, like Brahma, Karma, Adhyatma, and he is a Swadha. You have to do the self-service. Swasya Dharana. Like, you have to do the self-service. Dharma. Break it down. Look at those 8 questions. Look at these 8 elements here. It is given. Why is he giving this breakdown? Because I think just the previous shloka, he says, Ekatvena Pratatvena Bahuda Vishwato Mukam Upasate. There are a few Jnana Yajnis, like Jnana Yajnana Chaptyanya. There are other Jnana Yajnis who keep doing the yajna, or Brahma yajna, when they offer themselves completely into Brahma Arpana, when they do the upasana of the Bhagavan, they look at that Bhagavan through ekatva pritaktva, and he is now explaining how that pritaktva can be looked into, how that multiplicity can be beautifully looked at through that one single Paramatma. Because see, normally we say Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, everything is Brahma, but it doesn't really help in terms of appreciating the depth, the width, the 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 granularity, the multiplicity, the plurality. No, it's no way possible for us to appreciate the vividhata, right? The vistara, because this is all part of the vijnana, right? Vibhuti. This is the second part of Bhagavad-Gita, where the whole purpose in the first chapter, the first 6 chapters, while the focus was to make sure that we understand everything to be part of Brahma. Evam bahuvida yajna havitata brahmano mukhe, karma brahmodbhavam vidhi, brahmakshara samudbhavam. While it was understanding everything is Brahma, in the second chatka we are looking at from Brahma, how do we look at the multiplicity and then start admiring. Because if we have to really internalize that samabuddhi, like samam pashyan hi sarvatra, all of these things, right? So maybe if you really want to internalize the thought of looking at the sarvatra, we have to look at the various ways in which the Bhagavan can appear, right? And interestingly, he started revealing that himself in the 7th adhyaya. He started, Rasoham apsu kaunteya, Prabhasmi shashi surya yohu, Pranavah sarva vedeshu, Shabdah ke paurusham shu. He starts explaining, how exactly you can see me, and that is where he starts revealing the Vijnana, right? But now he goes a little further. Like, he explains very clearly in the Raja Vidya chapter, the way we know it. After briefly explaining those eightfold questions of Arjuna, he's taken it to a different level. He's now telling, see, now what I'm going to tell you about the same set of 8 questions, it is a Guhyatama Jnana, it is a Raja Vidya, it is a Raja Guhya, it is a Pavitra, it is a Uttama Jnana, it is a Dharmya, it is a easy to follow, Susukam Kartum, like, and Pratyaksha Avagamam, it's experienceable. And when he's given such a very open statement, when we do the proper anusandhana around these thoughts, we can easily see every action is Bhagavan, every yajna is that Bhagavan, every swadha, like, whatever helps you within that is Bhagavan, every aushadha is also Bhagavan. He clarifies this a little later, right? And when we see the 15th chapter, by being the Rasatmaka Somadeva, he is the one who does the Poshakatva of all the Aushadha life, like, all the plant life. He is the mantra, he is the Ajya, he is the Agni, he is the Huta. Because at the end of the day, everything gets dissolved into that one Omkara Parabrahma, Otam Protaha. The second way of looking at the see, we some of us do understand that there is something called the Punarukti Dosha. Punarukti dosha basically means that if a word uh, has to bear the same meaning, that I am this, I am this, he doesn't have to say I am this, I am this, I am this. That's wrong in a shloka, because he rasoham apsu. In those shlokas when we see earlier, he uses that aham only once in one shloka. Maybe asmi once in one shloka, like, rasoham apsu kaunteya, prabha asmi, prabha asmi, like, but aham is implied. The minute you say asmi, aham is implied. You don't have to repeatedly say aham. Now, why is he then adding that, I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this, and we can say that, right? We don't normally add I am this, I am this, I am this. One way of looking at it is he is really trying to stress those eightfold questions. The way he is trying to deliver the answer, he is really trying to stress that, okay, these are, you really need to indeed look at me in this multiplicity, like, in this various branched out ways. That's one. Secondly, the word aham can mean couple of other things. Like, one, aha is a to ha. A to ha is like in our Aksharamala, is like A to Z in the English alphabet. Like, A to Z means everything, all encompassing Kratu is me, all encompassing Kratu, all encompassing Yajna. Aha is basically A to ha, right? Uh, One way of looking at it. It's not necessarily aham is I. That's the first Rudi, the colloquial way of understanding aham is me, right? That's the first meaning. The second way of looking at the word aham is that he's the he's all the kratu, he is all the yajna, he is all the mantra, he is all the swadha, he is all the aushadha, he is all the ajya, all. Aha is atuha, all encompassing. That's one way of looking at it. Aham can also be na ham. Ham is hanti. No death. Uh, in some schools, it is acceptable. In some schools, they say it is not a good way of looking at it. Again, take these things with a pinch of salt. This is for anusandhana because we are looking at pratipadartha, word by word, right? Uh, when we want to look at the ekakshara, it's not ham. Some people say ghna, like, ghna, shatru ghna, like, ham, hanti becomes ghna. Okay, but yeah, some people also say ha, like, aham is na ham, no, the one that imperishable kratu. Aham can be imperishable, like, no hatya, no hanana for it, no yasya na hananam, like, the one who cannot, na hanyate hanyamane sharire, something that we hear, right? So the one that is imperishable. So aham can also be imperishable. Okay, the imperishable kratu is me. The imperishable yajna is me. What is that imperishable yajna? Adhi yajna, right? Adhi yajna is this life, this creation is a yajna where Bhagavan himself offered when there was nothing else to offer. He offered himself, and then came the multiple various elements of the Prakriti, right? The different things came out. So he initially offered himself. So aham can be all, aham can be imperishable, and then the punarukti dosha can be avoided, right? Because now I'm talking about the aham kratu, the aham yajna, the aham swadha, aham aushadha. The aham can be then becomes a qualifier for each of those 8 elements, right? So it's beautiful. So basically, Krishna, I think from now to the next few shlokas, he explains how to do the ekatvena pratatvena anusandhana. Like, in when we do the chintana around the Bhagavan, how to look at the ekatva pratakva breakdown, right? That is primarily coming out here. Is there too much noise, Vijayji, when I'm speaking?
Little bit of noise is there, Bharataji, not much.
Okay. I'm not at home. At home, there is no signal. I don't have Wi-Fi in my in-laws' place. Okay, so something. Please do adjust. We'll see. Maybe we can close it a little early also. So that's basically the thing. So, he himself is the Kratu. He himself is the Yajna. And again, in these things, as much as there is a Rudhatmaka meaning to each of those, let's also look at the Yogatmaka meaning, which is the Nirvachaniya, which is the split of the words. Kratu means Kriya, the Swarupa Kriya. The Prakriti itself is the Kriti of the Bhagavan, his Swarupa Kriya. Like, Yajna is the one that gives us the knowledge because, Karmajan Vidyitan Sarvan. And then he also says that, sarvam karmakhilam partha jnane parisamapyate. All of this yajnatmaka karma has to lead into jnana. That is what he mentions in the 4th chapter. So one that unlocks the jnana is the yajna, swadha, swasya dharanat swadha, ajya, asamantat, aushadha, the one that really that's the Poshakatva, mantra, the one that protects us. Like all of these things. Okay, the Agni, the one that is in the forefront, the one that is doing the Poshakatva. Right? So different ways of looking at it. Right? So basically, Krishna is helping here in this section. This is the Rajavidya, Rajaguhya, the secret, right? Rajavidya is the supreme, the forefront among all the knowledge. And this is the forefront among all the secret. Basically, he is there everywhere. And how to view him perhaps comes in a couple of more shlokas, right? So with that, we move on to the next shloka, shloka number 17. It reads like this. Om Pitahamasya Jagato Mata Dhata Pitamaha Vedyam Pavitramomkar Riksama Yajurevacha Pitahamasya Jagatah Mata Dhata Pitamaha Vedyam Pavitramomkar Riksama Yajurevacha. Now, see, most of these words, right, like Yajna, Kratu, Agni, like, Yajna, Iju, Mahejascha, Kratu, Satram, Satangati. So, when we, Yajna, Vrityajna, Krityajni, Yajno, Yajna, Pratiri, Yajva, Yajnago, Yajnavahana. When you look at these things, right, so, these words, I mean, at least in the 9th chapter, we get to hear wherever Bhagavan is explaining himself, many of these words we tend to hear them in many other places, especially in the Vishnu Sahasranama. Right? In the Vishnu Sahasranama, there is a lot of similarity ringing between this chapter and the Vishnu Sahasranama. Right? So that's one thing that we can perhaps bear in mind. Some of us, when we do the Anusandhana, the Artha Chintana of the Vishnu Sahasranama, we can actually use that knowledge to link back at what Krishna is telling in the Bhagavad-Gita. So that's one thing. But nonetheless, let's come back. Pita aham asya jagatah. That's the breakdown. Pita aham asya jagatah. Mata dhata pitamaha. Vedyam pavitram omkarah. Rik sama yajuhu evacha. Right? That's the breakdown of the words. Let's see what the Anvaya has to say. Aham eva asya jagatah pita mata dhata pitamaha cha vedyam pavitram omkarah cha rik sama yajuhu eva cha. So we can read it like that, right? So the cha and the eva can be added n number of times. In Vishnu Sahasranama we keep hearing that added. Bhutatma, Paramatma cha, Muktanam Paramagrihi, Avyaya Purushasvachi, Kshetrajnokshara eva cha. The cha eva, Vishnu Sahasranama has it in plenty. But when it comes to Prakriti, Prakriti is well created, right? Lalita Sahasranama doesn't have any of these words. Lalita Sahasranama, no name repeats. It's properly created. Prakriti, it's the proper Prakriti, right? So, but Vishnu Sahasranama, we can add this eva cha n number of times. Right? So that's another thing to look at. But yeah, so ahameva yasya jagatah pita mata dhata pitamaha cha ahameva asya jagatah vedyam pavitram omkarah cha ahameva asya jagatah rik sama yajuhu eva cha. We can break it down like this also. Right? What does that mean? Very simple. Asya jagatah, of this world. Okay, asya jagatah ahameva, I am only Pita, Mata, Dhata, Pitamaha cha. I am only the father, mother. Dhata. Dhata is the ordinance, the Prabhu. Dhata, Pitamaha cha. Right? Ahameva Vedyam Pavitram Omkaraha cha. I am only the object of knowledge. I am only the, Pavitram Omkara, the sacred Omkara, or Pavitra and Omkara. I am only the sacred part. I am only the Omkara. We can break it down. We will see why. Right? Because Pavitra is an essential thing. Darba, there is literally it means the Darba twisted and made it into a ring kind of a thing. Something that we wear when we sit in front of the Yajna. Right? That's also Ahameva Pavitra, Ahameva Omkara, Ahameva Pavitram Omkara. Now, these are the fun in which we can have some good interesting times when we do the Artha Chintana with combined words and broken words. Like, like for example, Viksharo, Rohito, Margo, Hetur, Damo. So in Vishnu Sahasranama also, Viksharaha, Rohitaha, Margaha. All three are Vishnu. Or Rohitaha Margaha. The Marga that is in ascending Marga. Rohitaha Marga, Rohita means ascend. So ascendancy is him. Path is him. Ascending path is also him. Right? So it can be so when we say Vishwam Vishnu, Vishwam is also him, Vishnu is also him, but Vishwam is Vishnu, Vashakkaraha Vishnu. We can also, so there are different ways in which we can play with it, and that's the beauty of doing repeat chintana of some of these shlokas, right? So what he's telling is he is the Pita, he is the Mata, he is the Pitamaha. Who are these three people for anybody? See, so for example, I am the person for whom he is telling. I am the Pita, I am the Mata, I am the Pitamaha for you, hey Bharata. This is what Krishna is telling. Which means these are the three people who gives happiness. Right? Wherever we are, these are the three people that gives us happiness. These are the three people that absolutely are taking care of our interests. Right? Pita, Mata, Pitamaha, and Dhata. A proper king is also like that. Like a proper Raja, proper ordainer, Dhata, Vidhata, we say. Oh, like in Bahubali, when there is a very good king who really, really takes care of the subjects will have naturally developed that love and they say, oh, Dhata, Vidhata, we say that, right? Uh, and this is perhaps the reason why many Bhagavatas also come to that feeling of offering their prayers to when they offer it to the Bhagavan. They say Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Vantuscha Saka Tvameva. No, they say that, right? So perhaps it's coming from that, but nonetheless, the Pita, Mata, Dhata, Pitamaha are the ones who gives us happiness. So are the Vedyam, the object of knowledge, whatever we learn. Eventually, they have to give us happiness. Omkara, Pavitra Omkara is also supposed to give us happiness, right? Rik, Sama, Yaju, Rik, Richate, Archana. When we say Archana, right? Basically, Rik is basically what wherever we do Archana. Sama is where we do the reconciliation. We do Samatva, Samatva, the reconciliation. Okay, Sama. Yajuhu is Yajna. No, Yajanat, Yajurveda comes with a lot of this effort, which again leads to knowledge. And knowledge is essentially for us to gain the happiness. So different aspects that will give us happiness. Okay, be it the Vedic studies, be it the Omkara, the Rik, Sama, Yaju, the Archana that we do, the Samanvaya that we see, the Yajana that we do, the different people that we interact with, the Mata, Pita, Dhata, Pitamaha, it is him. So wherever we can see the common thread across all of this is that they are all associated with things that give us happiness, right? Now, Omkara. Now, Omkara is a very beautiful thing. I think we spoke about this when we sat into the. So when one was that, Omkara is the essence of all the Vedas. Omkara leads to Vyakriti, which is the Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. Om leads to Bhur Bhuva Swaha, and that leads us into Gayatri. Tat Saviturvare Enya Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. That leads into that. And Gayatri, when expounded, takes us to the entire Purusha Sukta, Sahasra, Shirsha, Purusha. There are different commentaries available. Like, how Omkara can give me Vyahriti, which is the Om Bhurposaha. Vyahriti then gets explained, expounded, expanded into giving me the entire Gayatri. How Gayatri expanded can give me the entire Purusha Sukta. And Purusha Sukta is a representation of the entire Vedic literature. There is an essay. I mean, I was attempting this because somebody else had written something else. Through Omkara, break down the entire Ramayana. Like, through Omkara, break down the entire Bhagavad-Gita. We get the entire Bhagavad-Gita through Omkara. We can actually compress that, right? So so Omkara, the, depending on how we do the upasana around that one syllable, there are different ways in which we can do the, but nonetheless, there are minimum 8 that we can think of. There are 8 parts of an Omkara. A, U, Ma, which is so sometimes also interchangeably understood to be the Vishwa Tejasa Prajna. There is A, U, Ma, right? And then there is, A, U, Ma. Then there is Nada, Bindu, Ghosha, Shanta, Atishanta, right? So there is a Vishwa, Tejasa, Prajna, Nada, Bindu, Ghosha, Shanta, Atishanta. These are the, Ghosha can also be sometimes known as Kala. Like some people say Kala, or some people say Ghosha. Ghosha is the proclamation, right? So there are different parts of the thing. And Omkara is also the Ekakshara, Akshara. Like how A to Ha can be the alphabet, A to Ksha is also the alphabet. So the Ksha is a Kshatrajna. We add those three Samyukta Aksharas also, right? So A to Ksha is also the entire Varnamala. And the entire Omkara is the Ekakshara, right? That entire Ekakshara again has those 8 parts which can give me the entire alphabet. Like for example, one part of the Omkara is the entire Swaras. Second part of the Omkara is the Kavarga. There are 5 Vargiya Vyanjanas. So those Ka, Cha, Ta, Ta, Pa. So 6 Vargas are there. The seventh part of the Omkara is my, you know, it's called the Antastakshara. Basically, the first 4 letters of uh, uh, the the Avargiya Vyanjana, Yara, Lava, and then the remaining is the Shasha, Saha. That is the last part. So the entire Omkara contains the alphabet. And within those 50 odd letters, we see every letter is basically Bhagavad Pratipadaka. Like, every letter, every word is basically conveying Bhagavan, no one else. You know, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, whether I say iron, steel, magnesium, paper, pen, clothes, burger, whatever I say, every letter, every word, when we do the proper upasana, they are all giving me link to Bhagavan. Everything is part of that Bhagavan. Everything is leading me to that Bhagavan. Right? So, Omkara, it's so special. No, Pranavaha Sarva Vedeshu. That's something that he spoke earlier in the 7th chapter. The Omkara, the Sara of every Veda is also him. That's what he said. I am the Pranava in all the Veda. That's what he said in the 7th chapter. Because Pranava has so much significance. That's where he mentions in the 8th chapter. So, Om, Tasmado Mityada Hritya. No, what is it? Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan mamanusmaran. So, Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan. You have to do the constant japa using the Omkara Akshara Parabrahma no Chintana always. That's what he mentions. So, he mentions about the Omkara in the 7th chapter, in the 8th chapter, in the 9th chapter, mainly because that eightfold breakdown of the Omkara can give me the eightfold questions of what Arjuna asked. It can give me the threefold breakdown of the different Vedas. It can give me the eightfold breakdown of the Aksharamala, which will then lead me to all the 50 odd letters that we have in the Aksharamala, which makes me sure that whatever word I use, whatever letter that I utter, whatever sound that I utter, eventually everything is pointing towards that Bhagavan. Only thing is we have to do the proper chintana, ekatvena pratatvena, and rik, yajuhu, sama. Whatever I do, whether I do the archana, whether I do the samanvaya, whether I do the yajana, whatever I do, right? It is all pointing towards the Bhagavan. And if I take the literal meaning of Rik being Rig Veda, Yajus being Yajur Veda, Sama being the Sama Veda, he's mentioned that in the 15th chapter. We'll see little later, but we started with that chapter. That's where the 15th chapter becomes extremely essential for us to begin the journey. We started with 15th chapter, and it's important to know. There he mentions Vedaisha Sarvehi Ahameva Vedya. The only thing to be known in every Vedic line is him. Like for example, when I say Agnini Ele Purohitam Yajnasa Deva Mritvijam Bhutaram, if I might be chanting the Agni Sukta, the first Sukta of the first mandala of the Rig Veda. But Agni, we just spoke about that in the previous shloka. He is like, Ahameva Agni. I am only Agni. And that's true because he is the Agra. He is the Agri Gramani Shriman. He is the Agra. He is the, and Agratvat Agni. And he is the Agani without moving anywhere, without going anywhere, staying wherever he is. Okay, he is the one who is doing the Poshaka. He is the nourisher of the entire life. So, Ekatvena Pratatvena Bahuda Vishwato Mukham in shloka number 15 when he says, now he is explaining different ways in which we can do the Artha Chintana. Everything that gives happiness is him. Mata, Pita, Dhata, Pitamaha, Vedya, Pavitra, Omkara Veda. Right? Very brief summary of all of this is basically Bhagavan. Right? Let's quickly see what Aurobindo interpretation says. I am the father of this world, the mother, the ordainer, the first creator. Okay, okay. Pitamaha. Okay, this is intelligent. Pitamaha is popularly, while literally it is grandfather, Pitamaha is normally referred to Brahmadeva, Chaturmukha Brahma, right? Chaturmukha Brahma is the first creator according to this website. But yeah, first creator is basically Chaturmukha Brahma. He is normally called Pitamaha. Some of us who do the Valmiki Ramayana Chintana, we could see that, Brahma quite a few number of times has been referred to the word Pitamaha, right? Creator, the object of the knowledge, Vedya, the secret syllable Om, the Pavitra Omkara, and also the Rik Sama Yaju Vedas. Whether we call it as Vedas or whether we take the literal meaning, it's all him. Rik is Richate, Archate, Samanvayat, Yajuhu, on the Yaga. Something that we heard in the previous. Right? With that, we can move on to the next shloka, shloka number 18. I think we'll quickly rush. We'll see more and more. Okay, next shloka reads like this. Om Gatir-bharta prabhu sakshi nivasa sharanam suhrit prabhava pralayasthanam nidhanam bijam avyayam. Gatir-bharta prabhu sakshi nivasa sharanam suhrit prabhavah pralayah sthanam nidhanam bijam avyayam. Right? Now, these three shlokas are brilliant. Right? One where he says, Aham kraturaham yajnaha swadaham aham aushatam. One shloka. The second one he says, Pitahamasya jagato mata dhata pitamaha. And now in the third one he says, Gatir bharta, because these are the three shlokas where he is explaining the pritaktva, right? The multiplicity, because that's what he mentions in shloka number 15. Ekatvena, pritatvena, anyaha, jnana yajnanaha upasate. Like, the different jnana yajnis, they do the upasana of the Bhagavan through ekatva pritaktva. Brahmagnavapare yajnam yajnenaivo juhvati. Then he goes on to say, Shrotradini indriyanyanye sanyamagishu juhvati. My indriyas are also offered into it. That is also yajna. The self-control is also yajna. Dravya yajna, tapo yajna, yoga yajna, swadhyaya yajna, jnana yajna. There are different yajna. Even the pranayama is also yajna. Right? So that's one way of looking at the multiplicity. In the third chapter, he explains a little bit of multiplicity. Anna bhavanti bhutani, parjanya dhanna sambhavaha. Right? So he's explaining multiplicity. Like, maybe the next shloka number 19 also takes us to the multiplicity. But we will see. This one, Gatihi Bharta Prabhuhu Sakshi Nivasaha Sharanam Suhrutu Prabhavaha Pralayah Sthanam Nidhanam Bijam Avyayam. Anvaya should be very, very simplistic. It says, Gatihi Bharta Prabhuhu Sakshi Nivasaha Sharanam Suhurt Prabhavaha Pralayah Avyayam Bijam Sthanam Nidhanam Cha Ahameva. That Ahameva is not mentioned in the shloka, but I think it's brought in from the previous shloka because that applies. Right? We don't need the Punarukti. Ahameva Cha Ahameva. Also, I am only. Who all are in Gatihi? What is Gatihi? See the dictionary. Okay, Gatihi. Oh, I missed the word Gati. Gati is the path. Gati is the destination. Right? What is? I am the path. I am the goal. Gatihi is the goal. Or Gatihi is the what kind of a goal? In Vishnu Sahasranama we say Muktanam Paramagati. For the Mumukshus, the ultimate goal, okay, is Tat Dhama Paramam Mama, when he says, right? The ultimate goal, the ultimate path, the ultimate aim, the ultimate objective is him. And he's telling us, you better have it. Your ultimate aim has to be me. Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. If you stay true to your dharmatmaka, cheshta, the activities, even your desires are me. So desire me, don't worry. Go for me. You take it. So ultimately, he is the Gati. He is the Bharta. Bharta is like husband. Now see, look at this first line. Gati, Bharta, Prabhu, Sakshi, Nivasa, Sharanam, Suhruti. Typically, a wife, we will see in some of these melancholic movies and all, we will see the wives calling her husband by these names. Okay, you are my Gati, you are my Bharta, you are my Prabhu, you are my Sakshi, you are my Nivasa, you are my Sharana, you are my Suhrutu. In melancholic. Now look at this, right? We are all part of the Prakriti. We are all part of the material manifestation. So we have this three tattva inside all of us. So for all of us, he is the Lord. He is the Gati. He is the Bharta. Bharta is the husband, right? That's the first meaning that we get when we hear the word Bharta. But Bhuta, Bhuta, he is the one who does the Bhuta Brahmacha Bhutastu Mamatma Bhuta Bhavana. In shloka number 7, 6 or 7 in the same chapter, he says he is the Bhuta Bhrit, Bhuta Krit, Bhuta Bhrit Bhavu, Bhutatma, Bhuta Bhavana. In the Vishnu Sahasranam also we hear that Bhuta Bhrit, okay, Bhuta Brahmacha Bhutasta. In 9th chapter also we hear that. That Bhrit, the one who does the Poshakatva, right? One who fulfills the missing things in our life. Okay, that is Bhuta Bhrit. Bharti. Bharti means somebody who does the completement, the fulfillment, the the completeness, who brings in the completeness in us. Okay, he is that Bharta, like no one who does the Bharti, like no one who does the fulfillment of our things. And also the Lord of us, who is the one who does the Poshakatva, one who does the nourishment for us. Prabhu, Prabhavati, like one who has the impact, one who has a strong impact on our life, one who is also the Lord. Prabhu means the Lord, but one who has the impact on our life. There is a Prabhava. Okay, by Prabhu is Prabhava, right? And Prabhu is the Prathama Bhu being, or Prakarshana Bhu, the one who does the enlightening while residing in all of us. Like Prabhu. Different ways we can look at the Chintana. He is the Gati, Muktanam Paramagati. That explanation we get when we see the Vishnu Sahasranama. Because Vishnu Sahasranama, Bhagavad-Gita, many commentators say they are like the right eye, left eye of Mahabharata, right? So one complements the other. So it's always good to see the two together. Gati, Bharta, Prabhu, Sakshi. See, sometime back, Krishna does mention he is the Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti Suyate. Adhyaksha, he is the Adhyaksha, Lokadhyaksha, Suradhyakshu, Dharmadhyaksha, Kritakataha. Right? So we hear all of these things, right? A little while ago. So Sakshi and Adhyaksha is, Adhi Akshnoti. There is a Akshana, Ikshana. There is a viewing happening in Adhyaksha. There is a Akshi. Akshi is where the Sakshi is also having an Akshi. So Sakshadidam Adrakshi, the one who he's kind of, he's the one who's overseeing everything. Adhyaksha, Adi Upari Akshnoti, the one who's overlooking on top. Okay, he's the Adhyaksha. Sakshi, the one who's Sakshat Akshnoti, the one who's literally observing everything, and not only observing. Like Surya not just observes the light, he's also regulating the light. Right? So Sakshi is that regulator. Arms distance away, sitting there, similar to Adhyaksha, because he says, like few shlokas ago, Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti Suyate. Sachara Acharam. He says that. Similarly, he is that Sakshi. Okay, he is the one who's doing the regulation for all of us. He is a Nivasaha. See, he is the one who's dwelling everywhere, right? When we say Vasudeva, Vasudeva basically, Vase Nivasati Tat Deva. The one who's residing, the all-pervading Deva is Vasudeva, right? Like our Isha Vasamidam Sarvam Yatkinchi Jagatyam Jagat. Tena Tektena Bhunjita Magrata Kassasid Dhanam. When we say that, we basically, the entire world is pervaded by him. He is a Nivasa, which means he is the shelter. He is the house. Whether I like it or not, I am residing inside him. Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra. Sarvam Chamai Pashyati. They are already in me. You just need to look at that, look at the fact that they are all residing in me. Then he will not get lost, I will not get lost. he says that, right, some time ago in the 6th chapter. So he is the Nivasaha, he is the Sharana. Like, he is the ultimate prapatti. Arjuna says that, Tameva Chadyam Purusham Prapadye, which he mentions in the 15th chapter, Shishyasteham Shadi Mam Swam Prapannam, like, I surrender unto you. He is the Sharana. He is the feet to which we have to fall down, right? So he is the Sharana. He is the Suhrit. See, there is a difference. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. He mentions that in the fifth chapter, Bhoktaram Sarva Yajnanam, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the Suhrit of every Bhutarashi, something that he mentions at the end, the last shloka of the fifth Adhyaya. He is a Suhrit. Now there is a difference between Sakha and Suhrit, right? Sakha is a friend, like, Sakheti Matva, Prasabam. For Arjuna, he is a Sakha because they both are next to each other. But his job doesn't end there. He is a Suhrit for all of us also. No matter where he is always with us, right? Like, for example, I don't know where Vijay ji is sitting or Shraddha ji is sitting or Sudha ji is sitting, but we are all together. Our thoughts are together, right? We need not be physically together. Like Sakha Suhrit. So we are all Suhrit to each other. Like, we are all together in this journey. So he is the Suhrit, right? Um he is the Prabhavaha Pralayah. This is something that he mentions in the seventh chapter also, sometime ago. Prabhava is the beginning, the creation. Pralaya is the end, and Sthana is the sustenance. So the creation, the destruction, and the sustenance. Prabhavaha, Pralayah, Sthanam. All three are him. See, Prabhavaha is also Bahuvachana for Prabhu. That's another thing. If there are more Prabhus, indirectly he's telling that's also me. If you think there is not just one Prabhu, there are multiple Prabhus, all of them. So Prabhu, Prabhavaha, that's also there. Prabhavaha, as much as it's a verb, which means I am the one who does the creation. The creation is also me. The pralaya is also me. The sthana is also me. Prabhavaha can also be the Bahuvachana for Prabhu. That's another Padalitya. We can play with that word, right? So the singular Prabhu is the one ultimate Prabhu is also me. The multiple Prabhus are eventually me. Whether I look at Surya Deva, Chandra Deva, see, it's like whether I look at the water from Madagascar or from Bali, I'm eventually looking at Indian Ocean, right? Or Cape Comorin. Wherever I look at the water from, I'm looking at that one Indian Ocean. I can't say, okay, this is the Cape Comorin Indian Ocean, that's the Bali Indian Ocean, this is the Perth Indian Ocean, this is the Madagascar Indian Ocean. I can't say that, right? All of them are the same Indian Ocean, right? So if you think there are multiple Prabhus, they're also me. And the one who does the creation, Prabhavaha, Prabhavati, Tena Prabhavaha, right? So the one who does the creation, Pralaya, Sthana, this is where we normally do the Upasana, right? In Kannada, we have a nice Dasa Sahitya, Jagavanellava Nirmisuvanal Moganolagita Niddu Salahuva Gagana Keshanodittu Samharisuvanulu Gagala. So he is the one, the Supreme Parabrahma is the one who, through the Chaturmukha Brahma, Nal Moga, is the Chaturmukha Brahma. Through the Nal Moga, through the Chaturmukha Brahma, he is the one Nirmana, just a Nirmisuva. He is the one who does the Prabhava. And being the Gagana Kesha, which is the Rudra Deva, right? He is the one who does the Pralaya. Pradyumna Rupi Bhagavan does the Prabhava. The Sankarshana Rupi Bhagavan does the Pralaya. The Aniruddha Rupi Bhagavan does the Sthana. He is the sustainer. And Nidhana, Vasudeva Rupi, right? The one who Bijam of Yam, Narayana. He is the Pradyumna, he is the Sankarshana, he is the Aniruddha, he is the Vasudeva, he is the Narayana. The Pancha Vyuha Rupa of the Bhagavan, Narayana, that's also Pratatvena. Ekatvena, Pratatvena, when we look at him, we can look at the Chintana of Bhagavan through 4 names. We can do the Chintana of Bhagavan through 5 names. We can do Chintana of Bhagavan through 10 names. We all know about the Dashavatara. We can do the Chintana of Bhagavan through 24 names. There is something called the Chaturvimshati Nama, Keshavadi Chaturvimshati Nama, Keshava, Narayana, there are different names. We can do his Upasana through those 24 names. We do Upasana of Bhagavan through 108 names. We do Upasana of Bhagavan through 1000 names, like Sahasranama. And Sahasranama, there is one that comes from Mahabharata. There is one that is what is popularly known today, like Om Vishwam Vishnu Vishatkaru. There is a Sahasranama in Padma Purana, also popular. So Ekatva Prataktva is very beautifully mentioned out here. The one who gives absolute joy, is him. The one, whether you like it as joy, sorrow, dependency, all actions, aham kraturaham yajnaha, that multiplicity, that prataktva is him. We can see the prataktva in a dispassionate way. We can look at the prataktva in terms of seeking happiness. We can see the prataktva in terms of seeking help. Because gatihi, bharta, prabhuhu, sakshi. See, as a child, I am not seeking help from my parents. Parents are doing it for me. But at a different point in time, we will all need support. That support is also him. This shloka, Gatihi, Bharta, Prabhu, Sachi, Nivasa, Sharanam, Suhrutu, Prabhavaha, Pralayah, Sthanam, Nidhana. Nidhana, when the Nidhana happens, when the Pralaya Kala, he is the one who does the Mukti. That's why I said Vasudeva Ruti, right? He is the one, Yastyo Udarasta Jagata Sadamandasandra. He is the one who keeps all of us in his Udara. At the time of Pralaya, he keeps us all the Jivarashis are sitting inside the Udara, Jagadoddara, Udara, he's the Udara, Jagadoddara, Jagadudarana, we call him, right? He's the Udara for the entire Jagat. The entire Jagat, Brahmanda sits inside his stomach. Some of us who have done the study of the Manusmriti, it explains that very beautifully. The first chapter explains how his Udara is the shelter for all of us. So that's the Nidhana. Bijam Avyayam. He is the Avyaya Bija, the Narayana. Nara Ayanaha Yasya. The one who is residing in this entire ethereal plane into which the Brahmanda is sown as a seed. And then comes your Dyauloka, Bhumiloka. We hear that in Manusmriti, in Vishnu Purana. Take any random Purana, the creation is beautifully explained. That Avyaya Bija is him. Right? So basically, the default actions are all him. The good things in those actions are him. We saw that in Shloka number 16. The ones that give us absolute happiness in different forms, like as Mata Pita, that is also him. That is another way of looking at the Prataktva, the multiplicity, right? And he is the one who is the ultimate support for all of us, right? Whether we Gati, Bharta, Prabhu, like, these are the typical words that we use for some of the women use to describe their husbands, right? For us, he is the husband. Like, we are all part of the Sri Tattva. We are all part of the Prakriti Amsha, right? We are all revelation of the Prakriti. We are all manifested. Like, and for us, he is the ultimate support, right? For all of us, he is the ultimate support. Right now, this is all Raja Vidya. Raja Vidya, as much as it is the Raja Iva Vidya or Vidyanam Raja, which is the supreme, is a king among the knowledge, it can also be looked at as a Rajanam Vidya. It is also the knowledge of the kings. How a leader has to behave. Okay, leader has to be all pervading in all actions and funnel down into the good actions. Okay, a leader is the one who gives the happiness. A leader need not fake anything. By nature, they are the ones who gives happiness, who are the one who fixes the problem, without any trouble, and they are the ones who are ultimately dependable. Gati, Bharta, Prabhu, Sakshi. Right? That's why most of the kings, the good kings, were naturally called Dhata, Prabhu, Vibhu. These are the natural names. Right? The leadership qualities are also here. Right? So that is something that we can quickly look into. Perhaps we'll quickly see what Aurobindo interpretation says. It says, I am the path and the goal, the upholder, the master, the witness, the house, the country, the refuge, the benignant friend, I, the birth, the status, the destruction. See, too literal the translation might not give us enough gist of it. I am the imperishable seed of all and the eternal resting place. But I think, yeah, good translation, but quite very literal. It would be beautiful if you can just break them down and look in a little more in an elaborate way. But yeah, very beautiful translation. But this sloka is much more beautiful. We need to think about this slokas, these 3, 4 slokas, because ekatvena pratatvena. That's sloka number 15, right? He is giving the breakdown, how different ways in which we can do the upasana of the Bhagavan, right? Very beautiful. That takes us to sloka number 19. Okay, it says, Tapamyaham varsham nigrihnam yutsrujami cha amritam chaiva mrityuscha sadasachaham arjuna. Tapamyaham varsham nigrihnam yutsrujami cha amritam chaiva mrityuscha sadasachaham arjuna. Let's see the breakdown of this. Tapami aham. aham varsham nigrihnami utsrujami cha amritam cha eva mrityu cha sat asat cha aham arjuna. Sat asat sadasat sadasat cha sadasat cha aham chaham sadasat chaham. So there are multiple sandhis there. Right? So nicely broken down when we see the Padacheda. Let's see what Anvaya says. Hey Arjuna, aham tapami, aham varsham tapami, aham varsham nigrihnami, aham varsham utsujami cha, aham amritam cha, aham mrityuh cha, aham sat cha, aham asat cha eva. Some way we can break it down like this, right? And play around with this. The cha and the eva can be like chaiva, cha eva chaiva. See, the first shloka, there is a joke, right? It says, Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Go look at the bio of the club. We have given it as Vyasam. There are some versions of this, they say Chaiva. Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudi. Because Vyasa is Narayana. We've already spoken about him. Then they say Chaiva Chaiva. So Vyasa. So if that is considered to be the original shloka, Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Chaiva Chaiva. Chaiva comes in both first line as well as in the second line. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirai. Chaiva comes twice. So there is a joke that people call him as Chaiva Rishi, Chaiva Maharshi, or Chaiva Vyasa Maharshi, something like that. Right? So Cha and Eva can be added n number of times. We see that. Right? We can keep on adding. There is no harm in that. Ishtu Sahasranama, we see that, right? Bhutatma, Paramatma. We say this, Kshetrajnokshara Eva. Echa, Eva can keep on coming. But nonetheless, what does that mean? Aham Varsham Tapami. Aham Tapami. I give the heat. Or I do the evaporation. See, tapana is basically as much as we give the heat. Basically, tapas is basically you trickle it up. Like, you really, really evaporate it. And that is the tapa. You know, we say that, right? Tapo is extreme heat. So aham tapami, I provide the heat. I also evaporate the water. Varsham tapami. Aham varsham nigrihnami. I withhold the rain. What is rain? Rain is basically, see, varsha is something that gives the vrishti, but that's something that gives the prosperity. So I provide heat to the prosperity to take it up. I hold the prosperity because as soon as it goes up, it doesn't fall. The rain, the water droplets, as soon as it reaches on the top, it doesn't fall, right? There is a holding of the water. He says, I am the one who holds the water. Now, we can always ask this question. Science cannot perhaps answer this completely. What is holding the cloud? They can always explain, what is happening. That, there is some condensation happening, it will fall. You pour some silver nitrate, the condensation happens a little faster, the raindrops will trickle faster. Okay, people can do that monkey explanation. But the truth behind it, we don't know. What is holding it together, we don't know. Right? Krishna is saying, I am the one who takes the water on the top. I am the one who holds the water there in the cloud. And I am the one who utsujami. Utsujami. Ut is up and sujami is srishti, right? I am the one who sends it forth, right? I am the one who trickles it. Like in the some of us who have studied Ramayana, or maybe at least the that Aditya Hridayam, नाशयत्येष वैभूतं तदेव सृजति प्रभुः पायत्येष तपत्येष वर्षत्येष गपस्तिभिः. We hear that, right? So very similar. This sloka is very, very similar, because see, at the end of the day, whether we go down to Aditya, it is basically in the Narayana. Narayana is the one who's sitting in that Aditya Mandala, right? So because at the end of the day, Aditya is shining because of that Parabrahma. You know, he says that, right? Yachandramasi yachagno tatteju vidhi mamakam. Prabhasmi shashi surya yohu. I am the Prabha. I am the Tejas behind the Shashi and the Surya, both. And so Aditya Hridayam has a very similar name. Payatyesha, Tapatyesha, Varshatyesha, Gapastibihi. And look at this shloka and the Aditya Hridaya shloka. It's also explaining the water cycle. Water cycle. When we look into the evaporation, condensation, and the trickling down, it is attributed to some French scientist in the 15th century, right? But we knew about what exactly is happening in the Varsha, the rain, how exactly it happens, and we were quoting this as example, alibi examples, analogical examples, in our scripture without claiming to be scientific works. This is a yoga shastra. Aditya Hridayam is a bhakti, sukta, right? It is basically something that Rama, based on Agastya's Upadesha, he is the one who chanted to Surya Deva for strength before the war. Right? Nowhere Bhagavad-Gita calls itself a modern day science scripture, but the science has been subtly taken in and very casually dropped. Like, tapam yahamaham varsham. You know, some of the scientific things in Bhagavad Gita is another interesting study we can do. Like in the third chapter, dhumena vriyate vasmir ythadarsho balena, ythadarsho malena cha yatha ulbena avritaha garpaha. We knew there is an amniotic sac surrounding the fetus where there is liquid there, and which is keeping the child as much as in a protective layer in complete andatamas. Right? The way casually Krishna dropped some of these references, and also Valmiki Maharshi dropped that, right, in the Aditya Hridaya. Scientific knowledge was so immense. People were not really boastful about their scientific prowess. They were casually using it as a passing reference while explaining something else. Right? He is the one who's doing the tapana of the water, the nigrishna of the water, holding it as clouds, and then pushing it forward as rains. We knew the water cycle so very well. Aham amritam cha. I am the amrita. I am the immortality, the nectar. I am the birth. I am the one who. I am mrityu cha. Okay, as much as I am the one who does the mukti, moksha, and things like that, I am also the mrityu, right? He's the amrita. He's also the mrityu. He is the sat. He is the asat. Now see, one of the things that we need to understand is what is amrita, what is mrityu, why is he both? Basically, it says that he is the one who provides the prana, the basic prana. Prana is life, right? Jiva. He is the one who gives us the breath and keeps our life on, and we really don't know how much life we all have. It's all his control, right? He is the amrita, and he's also the one who stops the breath. Also, nobody knows when that breath stops. Everything looks just the same, the penultimate breath and the final breath. There is very little to choose between the two. Why did the final breath came? We don't know. It is him. The mrityu is also him. Amrita is also him. Sat and asat. See, so when we use these contradictory words together, I think there is a lot more study we need to do. How can he be sat and asat? Perhaps one explanation can come when we look into what Krishna himself has spoken about what is sat. Before this, when we heard about sat and asat, it was in the second chapter, right, where he says, "Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah, ubhayorapi dushto taspanayos tattvadarshibhi." Something like that he said, which means sat has bhava, asat doesn't have bhava, sat doesn't have abhava, asat doesn't have bhava. Basically, na asatah vidyate bhava, right? Na satah vidyate abhava, right? Sat doesn't have abhava, asat doesn't have bhava, right? So basically, when we look into that shloka, sat means bhava, asat means abhava. What is bhava? Karma, right? Bhuta bhava, bhutanam bhavasya udbhavakarah tat visargah eva karma iti sanjitah. Karma is the one that provides the bhava, which provides a sat. Karma is sat. What is then abhava? The one that is unseen in karma, which is the karana. See, there is antakarana, which then drives the karma, right? So there are organs. See, when the speech is heard, like you can always see my speech, you can always hear my speech. This is sat, right? This is manifested. This is vyakta, right? But what is giving me the speech? Nobody can see the vocal apparatus. Vocal apparatus is a sukshma organ. All our karanas, the antakaranas, they are all sukshma. Nobody can see. I can do the kriya. You can perhaps see the hand, but hand is, see, vak, pani, padam, cha, upastha, payu. These are the five karmendriyas. These are not sthula, shariras. They are all sukshma. We don't know that hand is not the physical hand. It is the one that delivers the action. There are people who do action like eating, stitching without physical hand, right? Even without that, people can still do the eating, people can still do the painting. They are doing something else. There is some niyamaka, there is abhimani devata who is getting it done. Even without a hand, he makes us behave few parts like a hand. The vocal apparatus also, the tongue comes into place, the throat comes into place, the teeth comes into place, the breath comes into place. The different organs contract, touch each other in different points in the junction, and kind of create different sound. We don't know what exactly is happening. Right? There is no proper thing that. And you stop one, like for example, some people, right? Like for example, one lip is injured. You have a broken. You have some swelling in the lip. You still use the fa. I use the fa using the teeth. I may not have the lip, I may not be using the lip, but I will be using the teeth to get the pa. But pa then doesn't become a dantaswara, right? So it's a little magic that is happening. No, it's not necessarily the stula sharira part that is giving that. So my karana, my antakarana, karanas are the asat. What is driving them is basically asat. What is not seen is asat. What is seen is sat. No, bhavaha sat, abhavaha asat. Karma sat, karana is asat. You can perhaps look at them in different ways. Right? So he is the sat, he is the asat. He is the one who, so basically look at the four shlokas where he is explaining the ekatva pratakva. Ekatvena Pratatvena Bahuda Vishuto Mukam, right? Shloka number 15. That is what is driving us. And multiplicity, the Vistarana, the Vividhata, is what is Vijnana. Knowing Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma is the Jnana, but then looking at the bespoke elements in which I'm able to appreciate the Bhagavan inside everything, that is needed, that Vijnana is needed to internalize the Samabuddhi. Like, we spoke about the samatva is the most important thing, right? That's the eventual message of the sixth adhyaya, right? To internalize that, this vijnana is extremely important. This vistara, this vistara knowledge is very, very important. One shloka he says all the yajna, all the kratu, aham kratu, you know, the multiplicity in everything that is happening without any attachment. Okay, that is him. The next shloka he says, whatever gives me happiness, that is him. The third shloka he says, whatever gives you protection is him. This shloka basically, in a way, is a representation of the Vashatkara. Vashatkara, when we say, Vishwam Vishnu Vashatkara Bhuta Bhavya Bhavat Prabhu. Vashatkara are those six forms, you know, Janana, Marana, there is a birth, there is a death, there is a sustenance, there is a change, there is a progress, there is a relegation, there is a ascendancy, there is a descendancy. Like, Nigrhnami, Utsrajami. Like, when we look at them, right, that Vashakkara aspect comes very nicely. So, the ones that are poles apart to each other, birth and death are poles apart, Mrityu, Amrita, poles apart to each other, right? Sthiti and the sustenance and the change. Okay, that is also him. Okay, Utsrujami, Tapami, Digrihnami, the ascendancy and the descendancy, that is also him. The progress and the downfall. Okay, all of them are him. Okay, eventually. So when you look at this, and all of these are Prataktva. See, when we understand this very properly, right, this is where Bhishmacharya, even on his deathbed, Shikhandi in Nahushogya, he could see Bhagavan in Shikhandi. The one who brought about the downfall of Bhishmacharya, he could see Bhagavan there also. And that's the level to which he had understood the Bhagavad Bhakti. Like, Bhagavad Swarupa, he understood so very well. No wonder, such beautiful elucidation of the Sahasranama came out from Bhishmacharya. Like, everything is in, and in that, he didn't have any wrong feeling. Upeksha, absolute upeksha. He had that samabuddhi. He didn't feel anything wrong about what was happening. Bhishmacharya had a few questions about, why things are happening the way they are happening for him, despite him being extremely committed to his duty and things like that. Right? But that was only short-lived. He was soon sorted. What we saw coming as a bhakti expression on his, Sharashaya, is unmatched. That's why this is the default Vishnu Sahasranama. Though there are few other forms of Vishnu Sahasranama, this is the default Vishnu Sahasranama, right? So uh, the different way in which we see these four shlokas are perhaps a beautiful way. You know, the the Vijnana, another way of looking at the Vijnana. You know, all Aham Kratuhu, all actions are him. And there in the actions, the elements of the actions are also him. He beautifully gave the eightfold breakdown there. Right? Then he is like, talks about, Pita, Mata, Dhata, Pitamaha, that another beautiful eightfold breakdown of the things that give me the happiness he mentions there. Then he goes on to explain the different, some 10, 13 ways in which we seek shelter, right? That is also him. And then finally, the various extremes, the poles apart, but the default activities in life that gives us the extremities, the dvandva, like, nigrihna, utsrujami, bruta, amrita, sat, asat, all of these things are also him. Right? Beautiful way of doing the upasana, primarily helping us how to do the ekatva, pritaktva kind of a upasana of the Bhagavan. Right? So let's see what Aurobindo translation says. I give heat, I withhold and send forth the rain. I am the immortality, I am also the death. I am the existent and the non-existent. Okay, Sat and Asat are existent and non-existent. O Arjuna. So Sat and Asat is truth and untruth, but nice, existent and non-existent. Bhava, Abhava, Karma, Karana. Right? We can look at it because karma is leading to bhava. So if it is bhava and abhava, vyakta, avyakta, vyakta is sat or avyakta is asat. That's very wrong to think like that. Maybe bhava, abhava can be sat and asat because that's what comes in the second chapter. Right? Avyakta cannot be Sat and Asat because Avyakta is the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth is Avyakta. You can't take it that way. So existent, not existent has to be seen as Bhava Abhava because Bhava Sat, Abhava Asat. You saw that I think shloka number 14 or 15 in the second adhyaya. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah. We can go there. I think we will wrap it up 4 minutes in advance, in early. I was too keen on having this session primarily because next week I may not be available. If there are any thoughts, questions, please to come up on stage. We can perhaps discuss a little more. This is something that we do every week. Next week we will continue from shloka number 20. Very beautiful shloka again. Traividya mam somapa sutapa parhare. That's one. Yeah. So before we, I think we will have 1 week break again. We'll continue week after next. Next week we will take a break because I'll be traveling that day, and we'll meet a week later than that on the 15th of October. Thanks everyone for joining. This is something that we do once a week, and as many shlokas as possible. Today the run rate was very low, but typically we cover about 10 shlokas. That's what we have seen as an average. But today we perhaps went a little too much into these shlokas, but I think that's useful. So on the 15th, we'll resume again. Other than this, we also help each other in terms of gaining familiarity because the more we think about these words, there are more deeper meanings that will appear in front of us. They will start unraveling themselves, different because these words are all known to us and we use these words in different contexts and different meanings. Right. So we do the repeat chanting. We do the entire Bhagavad-Gita chanting in a week by targeting approximately 100 shlokas every day. That happens every morning in India time from 6 o'clock to 7:15, 7:30. For about 60, 70 minutes, we do that every day in a guided chanting fashion. So people who are not so familiar with chanting can also please come and learn how to chant. Those of us who are familiar, we can also offer our voice and help others. And also, the more we chant, we will only get better. So we will also help each other in terms of our better understanding of the Gita because the knowledge contained in the scripture is immense. There is no measure to it. And we will only make a little attempt with our limited capacity to as much detailed way as possible and stick, stay true to the meaning, what is Krishna speaking, rather than being commentary. And as much as possible, but thanks everyone once again for joining us. Hope to see you more often in this small journey where we are trying to get closer to what Gita Charya Bhagavan Sri Krishna is trying to help us with as a Yoga Shastra, this Bhagavad-Gita. On the reverse count of three, let's conclude the room. Shall we conclude the room? Vijay, Ji, Shraddha, Sudha.
जी बताइए।
Sure. Thank you very much. Please join me in a small Jai Goshi in the name of Gita Charya, Bhagavad Shri Krishna. 3, 2, 1. Krishnaya Yadavendraya Jnanamudraya Yogine Nathaya Rudminishaya Namo Vedanta Vedine Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmane Pranataklesanashaya Govindaya Namo Namah Namaste Vasudevaya Preyasame Priyottama Samasta Guna Sampurna Nirdosha Nandadayine Mukopi Yatprasadena Mukunda Shayanayate Rajarajayate Rikto Raghavendram Tamashray Bharati Ramana Mukhya Pranam Sarvata Shri Gopala Krishna Priyatam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Have a beautiful weekend everyone. Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri
जय श्री
Krishna.
कृष्ण, जय श्री कृष्ण।
Jai Jai Shri